Stephen, how did you find carnivore?
It was kind of like a process over a 10-year journey for me. I had been like kind of just doing my own due diligence as far as health to deal with the health issues that I was having in my late 30s. And everything was pushing me towards eliminating processed foods, ultra processed foods. So that was about 2013 or so. That pushed me into what I would call like a paleo diet. And that was very, very transformative to me. I was just eating whole foods with a little bit of carbs, meat based whole foods with some carbohydrates like white rice, different types of potatoes and whatnot. And I did really good with that for about 5 years. I lost 70 pounds in like the first 8 months I was paleo, and all kinds of health issues rectified: anxiety, sleep apnea, obviously being pretty overweight. And then I had a friend of mine who was kind of into like biohacking and CBD oil and intermittent fasting and whatnot. And we were just talking one day, and he said, "Sure, you're healthy. You're very, very healthy on paleo, but do you want to be healthy or do you want to be optimal?" And I said, "I want to be optimal." So he said, "If you want to be optimal, you should go keto." So I went very clean keto, which is basically the same diet I was on as before. I just cut out the carbohydrates, the potatoes, the rice. So it was a very high fat, moderate protein diet with some leafy green cruciferous type vegetables thrown in: asparagus, broccoli, avocado, squashes and whatnot. And I did that for 5 years, and I was absolutely just killing it and really enjoying life. And my body fat percentage was super, super low, and I was just absolutely, absolutely shredded. So at about I would say about 48 years old or so, I was at the gym one day, and one of my friends said, "Bro, you can go to a bodybuilding competition and just crush everybody your age. You should do it." And I was already so dialed in that I didn't even really have to do any contest prep. So I did a bodybuilding show, and I really enjoyed it. So I really wanted to get into it. So after that was in November of 2022. So immediately after that, I went into a bodybuilding, like a serious bodybuilding contest prep. I didn't have a coach, but I bought Robert Sykes, the Keto Savage. I bought his book on bodybuilding, on keto bodybuilding, and I followed that. And deep into my contest prep, I was eating so little that just being keto, I didn't really have any use for the vegetables. I just wanted my protein and my fat because I was eating so little. That's all I really needed. I needed protein to keep from losing muscle mass, and I needed fat for my energy. So I went what I thought was going to be on a temporary carnivore. Just using carnivore just to cut out my plants while I was in contest prep. But what I noticed was I'd already rectified so many different health issues, so it was like an easy transition. But I had other health issues that I didn't even know was diet related. I had pain in my shoulders to the point where I really couldn't sleep, like because I sleep on my side, and I would toss and turn like a rotisserie chicken at night because sorry, it's my dog. She's being a brat. But my shoulders were hurt, and I wake up in the pain, and I had to flip over, and it was very restless at night. And I also had golfer and tennis elbow in both arms. So like just really inflamed elbow joints on both sides of my elbow there. There's two kind of different things going on there with the golfer and tennis elbow, but it was basically both sides of my elbow joint. Very painful, very inflamed. So within 2 weeks of being carnivore, the pain in my shoulders was gone. And I was like, no way. Which was exciting because I really wasn't able to lift really heavy weights. At the time, I was doing what you would call like an every minute on the minute workout routine, where you're just doing one set every minute. So you get very little rest in between sets. So you can't use as much weight, which was perfect for me because I couldn't really push a lot of weight from the pain, and I still was able to build some decent lean muscle mass and whatnot. So I really like that. But then within 6 to 8 weeks after that, my both elbows had completely rectified themselves. There was no pain in any of my elbows, and that really just sold me. Because I was going to go back to carnivore, but I mean to keto. But I'm like, why am I going to add vegetables back into my life when they were clearly harmful to me? And I knew exactly why. I just didn't realize it was that it was that pronounced. I didn't realize. I thought being 49 years old, I thought it was just all age related, just wear and tear. when really I was just eating too much kale and broccoli and whatnot. And it's being carnivore. It's I spend less money than I ever have on food, and it takes less time to prepare my food than ever. So it was like there was all upside and no downside to it. So I was like, why would I ever go back to plants? And I haven't. So that was I'm coming up on my 3-year anniversary being carnivore in February of next year. So
That's awesome. And so you've been eating this way for almost 3 years now. The pain and that's gone, so as you say, you've got no need to put the veggies back in, um, because it'll just be detrimental. Um, how has anything happened with, as far as mental clarity, anything like that?
well, that's another story that kind of ties into all that. So during that whole contest prep, I kind of started to abuse caffeine with like pre workout and whatnot. And being in such an energy deficit, with hardly eating any food. I also have a very highly active lifestyle. I'm a firefighter. I was in construction at the time, and then I'm training at the gym 6 days a week. So I ended up really, really getting abusive with the caffeine. Some days I was consuming like 1,200 milligrams of caffeine a day, and I knew that was really, really harmful and stupid. So I dialed that all the way back down to like what you would consider like normal levels of caffeine, like 200, 300 milligrams a day. It's not a lot, but I still had chronic fatigue and brain fog, and I knew that it was the caffeine. I've known it was the caffeine the whole time. But it really took me several years really to get up I don't want to say courage, but just to get up the fortitude, I guess, to do the right thing and get the caffeine out. So about 3 weeks ago, I cut caffeine out completely. And now all of that is starting, all the brain, the clarity and the mind energy that everybody says they have on carnivore is finally starting to come to me now. So I don't have like the chronic fatigue anymore. I don't have the brain fog anymore. And it's still a recovery process. There's still days when I have like headaches and I get cold sweats at the gym sometimes. It's almost like a flu precursor kind of. But I could definitely feel all of that coming back to me. And people have told me for years that if you cut the caffeine out, your natural energy will eventually return, and it's way better than the artificial stimulation from the caffeine. So, yeah, that's definitely coming back. That's definitely been a big improvement, cutting out caffeine. And probably not many. A lot of people drink coffee or take caffeine on carnivore, and they might not have that same problem that I have. But I abused it for a while, so I think my body needed a reset and a detox. But it's kind of like the issue with plants. Now that the caffeine's gone and I'm seeing the benefits of not consuming caffeine, I don't have any reason to ever go back to that either. So
Yeah. Oh, that's nice. And so, it I drink a lot of coffee. So, in those 3 the 3 weeks that you've been off it, was it difficult? The first day or 2, were you, like, kind of itching, kinda, "I need to have a cup in my hand." It's
no, the and I really didn't feel any difference you know as far as the energy goes. Like I didn't like I was it didn't it I was at the point with the caffeine where it really wasn't doing anything except elevating my heart rate. It didn't give me any mental like energy or pep or anything. It was just, I was tired all the time, whether, no matter how much caffeine I drank. And then, so when I stopped drinking the caffeine, I was still tired, but I just wasn't drinking the caffeine. So nothing really changed there immediately. It's just, after like the second and third day, the headaches really started kicking in, and especially like cold sweats when I was at the gym. It was like I would be at the gym and I would just be all clammy and sweaty and cold, and almost to the point where I felt like might need to like leave, because I was feeling kind of sick, but I kind of pushed through it. Um, so and it's really hard it's really hard to abuse caffeine just drinking coffee, because coffee has so little relative caffeine compared to like pre-workouts and energy drinks. You can get 350, 400 milligrams of caffeine in a single scoop of pre-workout, like just, so, I think a lot of other people might not have the same issues I have, just because it's really difficult to abuse caffeine just drinking your coffee. And it's, drinking a lot of coffee is not like the most pleasant thing in the world after a while, like 2, 3 cups after a while, kind of, uh, kind of upsets you, for me anyway. It kind of upsets my stomach. But it was really easy to abuse it with the pre workout and the C4 energy drinks that are in every store and whatnot. So
Right.
yeah.
Yeah. So day to day, how are you eating now?
I am on a 2 meal a day schedule, with usually between like 16 and 19 hours in between in the fasting window. I tried to go OMAD 1 meal a day, but I don't. It might be just because of my highly active lifestyle. Like, being a firefighter is absolutely bananas with the training and whatnot. And I train 6 days a week at the gym. I'm no longer in construction, but it's still very active uh, lifestyle, especially with the firefighter training. I mean, putting 75 pounds of gear on and throwing stuff around will absolutely just annihilate you. So I have a really difficult time with fasting longer than that window. I tried 1 meal a day, and I did really well for most of the day. I was not hungry. I felt great, and then usually right about the time I was ready to go to sleep, I would get pretty hungry, and being pretty hungry at bedtime kind of made it difficult to go to sleep. It was kind of uncomfortable. So, and then I've tried longer term fasting. I went 24 hours one time without eating, and I felt like I'm perfectly comfortable with dealing with discomfort. I'm adjusted to it, being a firefighter especially, but I genuinely felt sick not eating in that long a period of time. So I've chosen to go 2 meals a day. I know that 1 meal a day is probably the most optimal for most people. Get that one bolus of protein and the insulin spike in, and then fast for the rest of the day. But I do 2 meals a day. So in the morning, I typically have about 8 ounces of 85/15 ground beef, and I have my own chickens. So I eat 3 whole eggs and 3 egg yolks scrambled with that, and usually about 2 ounces of butter. And then, like right now, my dinner is in the smoker. This is pretty much what I eat every day for dinner. I have a pound of ground beef that I formed into 4 quarter-pound patties, and they're smoking in the smoker. So I'll smoke them for a couple hours. They'll be about medium rare, and I'll just eat them like cookies, basically. Um, and I don't really eat a lot of food relative to my activity and to my size. I'm 6'2", and I'm 200 pounds. I don't really know how that translates into European, metrics. But I'm a pretty large individual. 200 pounds on a 6'2" frame is still pretty big, still pretty meaty. But I've maintained that weight probably for going on 2 years now, eating the same exact food. So my body that seems to be the amount of food that I typically eat. That it seems to be the sweet spot for maintaining my weight. So I don't really want to gain more weight, and I definitely don't want to lose weight. I like the amount of weight that I have right now seems to be good for my body composition, and for the things that I have to do, like such as a firefighter and everything. You don't want to be too bulky. You can, and like I said, everybody's different. Like, I know Bella, I say this all the time. Bella, the steak and butter girl, eats literally twice as much as I do, and she's like probably 50 pounds lighter than I am, and definitely eats twice as much as I do. Like, if you believe in I'm just saying this just to give like a point of view, kind of like. But if you believe in if I were to tell you how many like calories I eat in a day, it's about 2,300 calories a day, and she eats well over 4,000 calories a day. I know you can't eat a calorie. I'm just, but you get it. So yeah, that's basically what I do. I Every once in a while I will throw in like this weekend I smoked a brisket, which is just like heaven on earth to me. It's a labor of love. It takes like 15 hours. That one took 15 hours. I do enjoy beef cheeks. They're like the cheek of the cow. I usually just dice those up and slow cook them for about 12 hours. But the next time I get some cheeks this week, probably I'm going to smoke them. I'm big into smoking. I like smoking all the things, and every once in a while I'll do a chuck roast. I'll either smoke it or I will cut it up into 1 inch cubes, and I'll pressure cook it and reduce the drippings down and kind of mix it in with the gravy and everything. That's a big favorite of mine as well.
Nice. And so in your job as a firefighter, do you feel like carnivore has given you um, more energy, more kind of more sustained energy, maybe to do your job?
I've never had a problem sustaining energy with my energy levels. Like I've never gotten tired per se. My problem seems to be with the way my body consumes oxygen. I like no matter how much I train, um, the just the like my training officer always tells me you have way more body mass, especially lean muscle mass. So your body demands more oxygen. So when I'm in gear and I'm throwing tires around and I'm axe chopping and I'm all the things that we do to keep in to stay firefighter ready. I just like we do air consumption tests where we'll get on air and see how long we can make a bottle last. And I'm middle of the pack at best, just because I just huff air. Like I feel like I can never get enough oxygen. And it doesn't matter how, and I know I'm not in bad shape because I've never, not performed on the fire ground itself. But I'm not really sure if this has anything to do with being carnivore or not. Just my body, demands a lot of oxygen. And that's the one thing that kind of like impedes me in training, especially, I've never not been able to do training. I've never, like my training officer used to yell at me that I wasn't going to be able to like graduate academy if I didn't start eating carbs. And I went to academy and basically smoked everybody. Except for like two or three people who were like track athletes and much smaller than I was, like much leaner, much smaller frame than I was, probably weighed 50 pounds less than I did. They were faster runners and could do more pull-ups than I do, but basically everything else physical. And these kids, and I was 49 when I went to the academy, and these kids were less than half my age, and I was absolutely smoking them. So, he's just one of those people who really believes in the carbohydrate and believes in the calories in, calories out, all of the things that, that we fight against, all of these dogmas that we fight against. He believes in them, and I am the guy telling him that no, I'm not doing those things. And he, I know, we kind of just prod each other, playfully and everything. But he still believes I'm kind of doing myself a disservice by not eating carbs, and so we just agree to disagree mostly.
Yeah. And how have things been with like family and friends? Do they think what you're doing is a little bit strange, or they just kind of go, okay, well, you do your own thing?
Well, my wife, I do most of the cooking for my wife, so I will feed her carnivore. And the only problem with that is she'll go out with her friends and she'll eat sweet potato fries and all the things that she likes to eat. And she gets very, very touchy when I try and tell her, like her and I are almost the exact same age. She was born like 2 weeks before I was. So and I'm 51. So, and she's a woman, and women have much more, I feel like much more complicated hormonal issues than men, especially once we get to this age. And I keep trying to tell her, I was like, you're getting to the age where if you want to, if you want to be comfortable and be healthy and thrive, you're going to have to start, getting rid of the things that you love. And we're from the American South. We're from the Gulf Coast, Mississippi, and Mississippi and Louisiana in particular are very food culture oriented, and all of it's terrible. All of it's complete total garbage. I mean, no offense to anybody, but it's not food that people should be eating, and that's all they eat. And it's not a surprise that this area has among the highest metabolic illness and obesity rates in the entire country. So she grew up in that culture, and it's very difficult for her. It's very difficult. It's offensive sometimes, actually, for me to tell her that she cannot eat this stuff anymore. And she's very, very rebellious about it. She's like, "You're not going to tell me not to eat these things," and it's just like she's coming around to it, because it's, like you can't fight reality. You can only fight reality for so long, and the reality is that she's, and especially as she restricts down, every time she gets off of that restriction, she can see exactly what it's doing to her, and it's not good. So she's coming to this slow realization, and I really can't criticize her too much, because I was on and off the wagon for 10 years before I really locked it down. Like it took me actually becoming carnivore. Or my dogs decide they want to play. It took me really becoming carnivore to really lock it down, because even when I was clean keto, I still didn't have the mental discipline to be in a room full of brownies and pizza and garbage and not just absolutely mindlessly shove it in my face. But once I became carnivore, I just everything just shifted for me, and there was just no way I was going to ever do that to myself again. Other friends and family, like I said, like my training officer thinks I'm absolutely out of my mind and stupid. Most of my coworkers, are kind of amused by it, and they just they like to like tease me. Like they'll have this absolute garbage on the table from some fast food or whatever, and they'll encourage me to have some, knowing that I'm not going to. This is funny to them. I did have a couple of people, like one of my battalion chiefs went carnivore, like kind of influenced by me, and it worked too well for him. And that's one of the things that, like a lot of people, they might say that it failed them because he was losing too much weight. And his problem was he was so satiated by the food that he was eating that he just didn't want to eat. And he was eating too little. He was eating by too little, he was eating like 4 eggs and 4 slices of bacon per day and nothing else. He was having one meal, and that's all he was eating. So anyway, he went carnivore, and he was just losing too much weight. And I told him, "You're eating too little. You got to eat more." And rather than just eating more, he just decided to go back into the eating donuts and pancakes and slop that that everybody else eats. But hopefully he'll get back into it. He liked it a lot. And the rest of my family are pretty amused by it as well. They think it's just, they think I'm crazy and I'm taking things to the extreme. I think maybe like my brother and his wife have restricted down, not fully carnivore or anything, but they're doing a lot better, because of my influence on them. I don't know if they'll ever just go full carnivore, but they're doing a lot better. I know they both stopped drinking, which is phenomenal. And, they just, my brother's wife, my sister-in-law, just lost a whole bunch of weight by cleaning herself up. So they're doing a lot better.
Um, like you mentioned, you don't feel like eating that stuff anymore. So the emotional connection, is that completely gone for you with the junk food?
Um, every once in a while, the emotional connection is definitely gone. But every once in a while, I'll be in a room, and it's funny how like you get like the physical cravings, and then you just have like the mental habit of it. Like before I went carnivore, like I said, I would just, if I was in a party or something and there was pizza and brownies and whatnot, I would just shove it in my face, and then I would hate myself afterwards. Like, why did you do that? Because I didn't think about it until after it was already done. Like it didn't even cross my mind what I was doing. It was just like almost like being a zombie kind of. So, one of the ways that I changed my mindset was just to become present when I was in that situation and know that I'm looking at this here, and if I eat it, I'm going to feel like absolute garbage afterwards, and not just for a little while, not just for a few minutes. It's going to be the lasting discomfort, and just for like what 45 seconds, a minute of pleasure, and I'm going to feel like crap the rest of the day. So, and I'm going to hate myself. So rather than go through that, I become present of that before I actually do it, and then I just don't do it. But every once in a while, this happened recently at Thanksgiving with my family. There was just so much stuff there that I would never ever eat, and there was almost like an urge to mindlessly put it on my plate and eat it, and then I had to be like, "Whoa, what are you doing? No, I'm not eating this." Uh, so every once in a while, it's incredible, and even with the coffee too. Like, like I drove from, I live in the southern United States. I drove all the way to the northern United States. I drove 15 hours to have Thanksgiving dinner with my family. And the whole time my brain is telling me, you need a cup of coffee. You need to have a cup of coffee. It's a road trip. Have a cup of coffee. And the voice was there the entire time, just telling me to have a cup of coffee. And I actually gave into it on the drive home. I had no reason to drink coffee. It was just like, just have a cup of coffee. It's a road trip. Have a cup of coffee. You'll feel better. And I had a cup of coffee and I felt absolutely terrible. It was like 4 or 5 hours of like an MSG headache, like that hazy MSG headache that I had, and I didn't feel any more energetic or awake or anything. And then after that, I immediately went back into those like withdrawal like headaches. So I was really, really mad at myself for doing that. But lesson learned.
Yeah. So if you were giving someone advice about getting started with carnivore, would you recommend they jump in, go cold turkey, or transition in slowly through keto?
Oh, absolutely. You do not want to go cold turkey in the carnivore, especially from a plant-based diet like standard American or veganism. There's all kinds of things that can go wrong hormonally, energetic wise, with your microbiome. I mean, you can do it as long as you understand what you're doing. Like as long as you understand that when you go cold turkey, there's going to be a lot of discomfort. There's going to be energy loss. It's going to suck. So if you, like a lot of people have done that. And I was fortunate enough I didn't even realize I was doing it, but I actually transitioned into carnivore over the course of 10 years. So I had very little issues transitioning to carnivore, but yeah, you should definitely not go from standard American diet to carnivore. I'm a certified carnivore nutrition coach with Coach Peter. And that's the biggest thing. One of the biggest things that we learn is how to transition and why. So you definitely want to slowly cut back on your carbohydrate intake and your plant intake, and slowly increase your fat intake until you reach the right proportions, and finally cut the plants out altogether. And that should take place over the course of at least 6 to 8 weeks, if not longer. And you might still have problems even if you do it properly, with things like oxalate dumping, which can cause like rash and joint issues, skin issues, fatigue issues, and whatnot. It's a really terrible thing to go through. You might develop histamine issues. So I would definitely not jump in cold turkey, and I would also highly recommend hiring a coach to help you into it, because it's the healing process is not going to happen overnight. And that's why a lot of people are failing, is because, they have a lifetime of damage to recover from and heal from, especially women with their hormones. And it just doesn't go the way that they're expecting it to quickly enough. Even after years, 2, 3 years, they still have things that they have to rectify, and it's not happening. And then they feel like, they have to go back to eating carbohydrates or whatnot. So, I think the most important thing to understand is that this is the way that you're supposed to eat as a human being. This is not a tool or a hack. This is a permanent lifestyle change that's going to turn you into the optimal human, because that's what the human body is designed to live off of. And that might mean that you have to, initially, you might have to go like the Michaela Peterson route, where she had to go full, what she coined the term lion diet, where she only eats ruminant meat, salt, and water, because literally everything else triggered her autoimmune issues. So even being full carnivore, if you're eating pork and chicken, that might, that might, give you problems as well. And dairy might give you problems. So having a coach to troubleshoot your issues with you would also be a very good thing to have, to get you through that transition.
Right. And so, Stephen, how can people reach out to you and find you online?
Sure. I'm most active on Instagram, Coach Carnivore Invictus, Invictus. And then you can find me on YouTube at Carnivore Invictus. I have some older videos on there. I really need to post more content. I'm Generation X, but I'm kind of a boomer in my knowledge of like, video editing and using computers these days. So I'm learning how to create content, edit videos, and whatnot. And once I do, I'll get back on YouTube a little bit more, but mostly on Instagram. I'm very active on Instagram, and it would be great if anybody wants to add me and get help and inspiration.
Fantastic. So I'll
Sure.
link to your Instagram and YouTube in the show notes.
Appreciate it.
Stephen, thank you so much for coming on and sharing your story and experience. I really appreciate your time.
My pleasure. Thanks for having me on.